Hey, hey, hey.
Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Whoa, 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 whoa. Alright, y'all, as someone who was irrationally high on the Orlando Magic this past offseason, I'm perfectly fine with where they're at right now. Because if we do a quick recap, look back at opening day, their starting lineup that night was Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. Of course, Paolo Banchero came out the gates scorching hot in his first 5 games, was averaging 29 points, almost 9 rebounds to go with 5 assists, and he was up to about league average 3-point shooting wise, which is a huge development for him. Most notably, he had the 50-point outburst versus the Indiana Pacers, but then unfortunately tears the oblique and misses quite some time. Anyway, next man up is Franz Wagner, who is now pushed into that primary scoring role. And in the next 20 games after the Banchero injury, Wagner takes a big leap himself, averages 26 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists to go with almost 2 steals per game. His 3-point shooting gets right as he's back to a 38% clip. Eventually gets to a point where people are talking about him as a potential all-star, maybe even all-NBA if he keeps it up. But of course, he also tears his oblique, which is a weird injury, even more weird that it happened twice to players on the same team. Jalen Suggs is now the next man up and pushed into that primary scoring role for the Orlando Magic, and he does the best he can. He also elevates his game to the tune of 18 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists to go with over 2 stocks a game. And for 10 games after Wagner gets hurt, Jalen Suggs is playing some of the best basketball of his career until he also gets hurt with this really weird looking back injury that was non-contact. Who knows when he's going to be back at this point. And then finally, after Suggs goes down, we now have Cole Anthony being thrusted not only into the starting lineup, but into that primary scoring role. Obviously, Paolo Banchero is back now as I'm recording this video, but just to finish, Cole Anthony in the 6 games after the Jalen Suggs injury occurred is now having the best stretch of his career, averaging 17 points, almost 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and over 2 stocks a game. Pretty much everyone on this Orlando Magic team just continues to be that next man up and is always prepared and ready to fill some shoes. And I say all of that without even mentioning the missed time from guys like Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Wagner, who is having a career year of his own, tore his ACL and is done for the season. Despite everything that has gone wrong, they still find themselves 4th in the Eastern Conference with a 23-18 record. And what might be even crazier than that is on a points per game basis, they are 30th in the NBA in points scored per game at 104.8, but because of the fact that they are first in opponents' points per game, as they are only allowing 103.2 points per game, they still find themselves 10th in overall net rating, which is, again, just absolutely insane for this team considering all of the context. And I mentioned the starting lineup from opening night at the top of this video because I went back and I watched the recent win versus the New York Knicks. As side note, Knicks continue to just have hilarious losses. I'll forever be a Knicks hater. Shout out to my boy Cam. But anyway, I just wanted to compare the starting lineups from opening night to this win versus the Knicks because it's pretty insane, as you still have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope holding it down for the team, but everyone else is different. You now have Cole Anthony in the backcourt with KCP, and the front court consists of Tristan da Silva, who is a rookie, Caleb Houston, who hasn't really gotten that much burn in his entire career, and Goga Bitadze. Anyway, I just wanted to take a look at the players who have been stepping up for this Orlando Magic team, because again, I still really believe in this team once they get healthy. Obviously, like I said earlier, they just got Paolo Banchero back. He looks like he's barely even missed a step. They should be getting Franz Wagner back in a couple of weeks. Jalen Suggs' timetable is a little bit more uncertain, but I would expect him to return at some point this season. And just considering the amount of tremendous players that have stepped up for them to fill those shoes this season, those guys are all going to get relegated to the bench. But what that means is the Magic are now going to have, 8 to 10 guys on this roster who have played meaningful minutes and have played extremely well in those minutes. And I'm all on board for that. And to start, I think the guy who deserves the most, respect for what he's done this season is Goga Bitadze, who went from being the 3rd string center on this roster to start the year has now been their most consistent starting player, probably outside of KCP, and he is just such a good plug-and-play big man, locks down the paint, is a tremendous rim protector, does not get enough credit in that area of his game, but also does not get enough credit for his work on the offensive side of the ball. They really love to use him as a hub at the top of the key. He handles it a bunch in that area. He can pass from that top of the key area. Just does everything that you want from a modern NBA center. But even as I'm recording this, I remember Goga Bitadze in their game last night went out with an injury. I don't know what it was, what the extent of it was, but I bring it up because Wendell Carter Jr. has also been very impressive. Obviously missed a lot of time this season, but specifically in this game against the Knicks, was absolutely cooking them off the bench. Not only was he knocking down shots very efficiently, but they were even running plays for him to get him some post touches, and he looked really good just driving to the rim, backing his guy down, facing up, and taking him to the rim, and scoring well around the rim, which is stuff that I feel like I haven't really seen from Wendell Carter Jr. in the past. Not to mention, very similar to Goga Bitadze, but he's also got some nice passing chops when he is, driving to the rim, or again from that top of the key area. He's another guy that the Magic like to use as a playmaking hub. And of course, I already mentioned him earlier in the video, but Cole Anthony has been tremendous in his spark plug role. He'll probably go back to the bench at some point as they get healthier. Considering how terrible he was to start the season, for him to now find his groove in a way that he was kind of just thrown into this primary scoring role, and it helped him, spark his game, turn around his season, because again, it was looking pretty bad to start. But I've been a big fan of Cole Anthony for the past couple of seasons, and it's been unfortunate to see him get passed in the rotation by some of the younger guys, but I remain very steadfast that he is going to be an important piece on this team down the line, because he's the only real scoring threat off the bench now, especially considering Mo Wagner is done for the season. Wagner was having an incredible year, was 4th on the team in points per game, so now I expect Cole Anthony to kind of take over that bench scoring role. And then from there, the guy I might be the most interested in going forward is rookie Tristan da Silva, who in a season where it is a very weak rookie of the year race, I am shocked that his name isn't being brought up more. Since Franz Wagner's gone out with a torn oblique, da Silva has been averaging 30 minutes a game, has been starting a majority of those games, and has had some big scoring nights with a couple of 20-pointers to his name. And it's crazy because when you actually just sit down and watch him play, it really does feel like you're watching a rookie Franz Wagner again, and they just have very similar play styles. They even look similar in the way they play, if that makes sense. But most importantly, I was blown away by his defensive motor, especially in this game against the Knicks, was putting the clamps on guys like Mikal Bridges, holding his own against OG Anunoby in the post. And Anthony Black in his second season is also having a really nice step forward. He just continues to do so many things per game that give you a really hopeful glance at what his future can be. Just constantly making the right play, playing good defense, moving the ball, getting to the rim. Love me some Anthony Black. And then last person I'll mention is Jonathan Isaac. I feel like a lot of people have forgotten about him because of how much time he lost due to injury, but he is back. He has stayed healthy for the most part of the season, which, compared to the rest of the team relatively, is really a shocker. And despite the fact that he's only shooting 26% from 3 this season, he is such an important piece on this roster. As a 4 off the bench, can also play you some minutes at the 5. A tremendous rebounder, which is something that I've noticed lately that really stood out to me in the past couple of games I've watched from the Magic. Obviously remains one of the most impactful defenders in the entire NBA. Again, it's unfortunate that they can only use him in short bursts still because of his injury history, but he's back up to 17 minutes per game, which is solid enough that he can be a real difference maker, and I will always enjoy watching Jonathan Isaac on the basketball court. So again, to wrap things up, this has been about as bad as the season could have gone for the Orlando Magic so far, at least, just injury-wise, roster-wise, health-wise, and yet, again, they still find themselves with home court advantage in the playoffs if the season ended today, which I think is a real testament, especially to Jamal Mosley, who it's unfortunate how great of a season the Cavs are having with Kenny Atkinson, because if it weren't for that, Jamal Mosley would be the easy runaway favorite for Coach of the Year right now. Either way, again, I remain very much in on this Orlando Magic team. I think that once they get back and they get healthy, we're going to see some really great basketball from them. And I would not be surprised at all if they are one of the teams this postseason that ends up making a big statement. And I'm really excited to see it hopefully happen. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those good things. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.